Welcome, I'm Rael Zeev and your host for Keep Traveling Your African Vacation, the only podcast which gives you insightful information in the African tourism industry by real tourism professionals. Today is our fourth episode, and I have the pleasure of introducing my guest, Leroy Ferreira, Director of Sales and Marketing, Fancourt Luxury Hotel and Resort. Hi Leroy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I love that we're forever adding an extra word or taking a word away when we speak about Fancourt. Luxury resort, golf resort, lifestyle resort, family resort. We say Fancourt nowadays because you can finish the sentence by yourself.
You're quite correct. Everybody's either resort and spa or hotel and resort, but we want to just keep it to Fancourt.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, great. So Leroy, just tell the listeners first of all a little bit about yourself and how you've managed to achieve the position that you hold today.
I'm proud to say I've only been in hotels. So this is my 25th year in hotels and hospitality as such. And after spending a whole lot of time in the Eastern Cape with hotels in between major centers like Port Elizabeth, I then found myself at a crossroad where I could move down the garden route or move to one of the bigger centers. And as a family, we decided, let's head on to the garden route. And that was 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, I joined Fancourt and joined the sales team. And almost 4 years ago now, the position for Director of Sales Marketing was available, and 4 years later, I'm glad to say that no one's attempted to scratch my car yet. I'm still greeted by everyone. Normally the sales and marketing directors are known for just the guys who just drink wine with clients and play golf with clients.
So now that you brought up the golf, let's just talk about that for a while. So first of all, what sort of handicap are you playing off at the moment?
I'm a semi-retired amateur golfer. Okay. So I play off a very poor 8 or a 9 at the moment, but honestly, our day job keeps us busy. So yes. Yeah, we do get around, absolutely, but not nearly as much as I would love to.
Why do you think people should visit Fancourt? And I'm not just talking about the local and regional visitors, but I'm talking about people from overseas. What's the big attraction to coming to your part of the world?
If you allow me, it's not a single sentence answer, because we've certainly seen a massive amount of return clients. So we've asked the return clients that question exactly. And for them, it's the subconscious journey that we expose them to. So it's the luxury journey that we have that if you go to another 5-star hotel or resort, wherever they are, you can imagine everyone's well traveled. It's 5-star, but they don't experience quite the same like it is at Fancourt. And the single silver bullet, if I may use that word, is the team. If you see our guest reviews, I sometimes say, listen, it's now getting almost annoying to read. The team is so great. The team is so friendly. But certainly when you come to Fancourt, there's a certain magic in the air. Firstly, the garden route is obviously a very special place in South Africa and thereby the world. In this area, we are very well respected towards your decisions as a traveler. You could choose to go just about anywhere else in the world, but you chose South Africa firstly. Sure. And secondly, a little place called George, where, where even South Africans don't know where George is. So we are grateful for the business that comes in, and that kind of complements our efforts. So it's always the team that picks up. We make mistakes, but the team fixes it, and by the time the guest leaves, they're always looking back at their journey here and saying this was fantastic.
If a guest has a problem, you mentioned all your reviews are fantastic, but I'm sure there's going to always be that one standout person that had a bit of an issue. Do you have an open door policy where somebody could contact you directly?
We go to the guest first. We have a strategy here that the guest shouldn't come to us. We must get to the guest before it gets escalated. So yeah, we got layers of guest relations teams that takes care of a complaint, whether the smallest possible one to something quite traumatic. And the strategy is always that the most senior person on duty gets to the client face-to-face at the earliest possible time. Just to, you can still tell the guest, listen, we're investigating the matter. But at least the guest knows, hang on, this has gone straight to where it's supposed to be. So there's nothing wrong with the middle layer of management. But because in our structure, we've got rooms division and we've got food and beverage and we've got finance. So everyone's got their head as such. So when it comes to a guest complaint, it goes to the head of that department immediately. And it then gets addressed. There's not a lot of guests that can ever say that they were waiting for someone to phone them.
Of course, you've already mentioned that you're in the smaller town of George. People planning a trip from overseas, they want to come to Fancourt, but maybe Fancourt is not a sort of 10-day or 14-day trip. How do you help them package that?
Again, we play to our strengths. So our packages are geared around 3, 5 or 7 nighters as a rule. Because if you're going to be in South Africa for 14, 15, 16 days, you're not going to spend 10 days in George. The traditional itinerary is going to get you somewhere near the Kruger and then work your way down the garden route and finish up in Cape Town somewhere. So for someone contacting us via direct or via commercial partners, there are itineraries built for exactly that they can fit in a 3-night or a 5-night in George on your way back. A lot of people come east-west, and the same goes west-east as well. Within the area itself, there are many activities that you can experience anywhere else in South Africa. We always mention that either Eastern or Western Cape, it's malaria-free Big 5 viewing. It all depends on the client. What is their interpretation of game viewing? If they want to come all the way south or they want to do it in Kruger, it's absolutely fine. What we've seen is obviously different sectors travel differently. So traditionally, the American tourist flies where they want to be, where your European tourist will get a rental car in Cape Town and then drive all the way down the garden route, all the way into PE and fly out from there.
So you're working with either DMCs or tour operators, and they're going to put a whole package together, which includes some nights at Fancourt.
The segments are up for grabs at the moment, where the traditional client used to use one DMC is now using someone else, or a client will not contact the hotel direct who used to use a DMC. That's a discussion that we can probably spend 2-3 hours on. When a DMC is involved, then the client appointed that DMC. We're not going to tell the client, listen, please go to this person or that person, because it's against the spirit of our commercial agreements. But when there's a DMC or a travel agent involved, then the client appointed that person. So we listen to their itinerary, what they want. But if they contact us directly, we're going to give them the low-hanging fruit so they can get the best of the area for the 3 or 4 or 5 days they're going to be here.
People are very conscious of conservation and making sure that the big establishments are putting certain protocols in place to make sure that your rubbish is being chucked away in the correct place. Tell me a little bit about what Fancourt is doing on that sort of level.
Yeah, I think the one thing that COVID did do is get rid of all the great ideas we had for the last 10 years, because suddenly plastic came back. We saw plastic just about everywhere in every hotel. We're fortunate that we're part of leading hotel with Manor House as part of leading hotels, and they got a very definitive bunch of guidelines as to what is allowed, what isn't allowed. We follow those, but we still get a hiding, because it doesn't help you try and get rid of some single-use plastics here and there, but your beautiful slippers that are already in the room is actually wrapped in plastic. So
Right.
there's some, they are absolutely, from our side, we are, for links, we try to get away from plastic bottles, so we change to glass on the golf course, but with glass comes its own set of risks again as well. All I can tell you that we are absolutely conscious at trying to establish a sustainable way forward. Are we even 25% there? Not at all. Because up till 6 months ago, every one of us burned thousands of liters of diesel just keeping the lights on. Yes, there's a plan to be as sustainable as possible. Would we ever get rid of all the single-use plastics? I don't think so. Because as many ideas and campaigns you put in place, there's something else that there's just a need for it to be in a plastic form. I'll give you a great example. Something like a sports and leisure center where there's a poolside and there's kids and children and people running around. There you have opportunities, and no, these strange looking coffee takeaway cups that we've all experienced before, where it's so recyclable that it starts leaking after a minute and you've got more coffee on you than in the cup. We've made those mistakes as well. If I can say work in progress, I think it's almost a statement for the entire world that it's work in progress. No one's got the right answer. A lot of our fellow competitors in hotels have got all these awards for being the most sustainable this, and anyone can get any award.
Fair enough. Now, human resources plays a critical role in the hospitality industry. Can you tell me, do you have any kind of program going on in that regard, securing local talent, helping bring up local talent from schools, universities, that type of thing?
It's our biggest opportunity and our biggest loophole as well, because I'm the dad of 2 daughters myself, and George does not provide the nightlife and the entertainment that centers like Cape Town or Johannesburg provides.
Yeah.
So we often find that when we get a young, up-and-coming, talented operator, food and beverage operator, they're just fresh out of hotel school or just got their marketing diploma, and they work at Fancourt for 2 or 3 years and they're gone into Cape Town or gone into Johannesburg. Because one, lifestyle or the offerings for a lifestyle for a youngster is better in those centers, and 2, with bigger centers come bigger salaries as well. But it doesn't stop us from developing. Every single year, we do go through an entire process of developing, let's call it interns and startups. And that's probably just our positioning in the market, that we give the hoteliers in 10 years' time, we give them their foundation. And we give them a proper foundation. And we treat them as if they are absolutely permanent employees. But we do know that in a year or two's time, they are going to move on to big lights and great cities.
So you more losing them than they are losing you, right?
Absolutely. Annually, we say goodbye to some superstars, but we can't stop them. And lately, it's not even going to Cape Town or Johannesburg. Lately, it's going international. It's personal and professional development for those individuals. So go for it. Good luck to everyone.
You got some development on the golf course side. There was another 9 holes being done on the links. So fill the listeners in a little bit on what's happening on the golf courses, please.
So we're in the process of finishing up the construction period for a 9-hole golf course that is situationally positioned right next to the links, but it is a complete separate golf course by itself. It's a 9-hole championship golf course designed by Gary Player, and it's taken the last year or so to develop from scratch. We're going to call it the Links Experience because we've set it up and the design of the course has been to go back to the traditional links type golf. The one difference is that there's wall-to-wall golf cart path being created. It helps for the silly winter days in George where it rains just too much that you don't really want to go out there walking, but you can still drive. That just means that we protect the golf course as well. That's been the secret of our success. The Western Cape, the last 2 winters have been quite a lot of water, and most golf courses are enclosed because you can't put golf carts on the golf course. But because we have car paths wall to wall, the golf course is accessible. So the Links Experience is set up as a 9-hole golf course, but also have par 3 tee boxes. There's some really great holes on that course. I get footage of every single week with the development phase, and there's some real fantastic holes that's been designed and put together. I can tell you that no expense has been spared in setting up that golf course. It's world-class. The design is world-class. It's been quite something when it's matured. And when I say matured, the Links in 2003, when it hosted the President's Cup, versus what the Links is now, it's 2 completely different golf courses. If you think it looked great and played great, 20 years ago, right now, it's 10 times better. Aesthetically 10 times better, and from a playability point of view as well. So this Links Experience is going to take a year or 2 to get an attitude, and we see what the golf course's attitude is all about. And all we can commit to that it gets all the tender loving care that the other 3 golf courses get every single day.
To get onto the links proper is quite a tough thing to do because of the restrictions as to the numbers that you play and everything like that. Are you going to be having the same kind of restrictions to this new 9-hole links course?
We have not published the rules and regulations with regards to it, but I can tell you it's not going to be as restrictive.
Okay.
More people will find it easier to have access to that golf course. The Links is a private club. It's always going to be exclusive. There's always going to be an exclusivity within an exclusive resort with regards to the Links. But Links Experience will be there's some relaxations there, yeah.
I'm glad to hear that because I'm sure prospective visitors are going to enjoy coming and playing.
I think it's a great offer for someone who lands in George after lunchtime but wants to get a quick game in the afternoon, or leaves George, your checkout time, you're only leaving at 1, so you can have a quick 9 holes in the morning. I think that's a great offering. And I'm almost disrespectful to us, the course, by saying have a quick 9, but the reality is it's an hour and a half jog around the golf course instead of 3-4 hours that a normal full 18 holes will take you.
It depends if you hit the ball straight or not, Leroy. Let's be honest.
The first fairway for the Links Experience
Yes.
is almost as wide as the first fairway at the old course at St. Andrews. Yes, you can still miss it, but if you do miss it, you should consider your golfing journey. Like I said, it's proper links. So the first fairway is huge. It looks like an airstrip in front of you. So it's going to be quite an entertaining show.
Leroy, you mentioned that you've been in the hotelier game for over 2 decades. How do you see the tourism sector in South Africa developing in the sort of next 5 to 10 years?
I look at the way my parents travel and I look at the way I travel. It's already a difference, a massive difference for that matter. My kids, if they're in their cities, are they ever going to do anything not on a phone? Are they ever going to go anywhere that's not available on a phone that you can click here or press that or whatever you're going to do? So I think in there lies a lot of possibilities within the industry, but also there's a lot of anxieties in it as well, because there are some traditional ways that we do stuff. I love the fact that after COVID, everyone said it's business unusual. Let's do it different. And suddenly a year or 2 later, we're all doing it the same way we did it in 2018, 2019. As an industry, I don't know. I think we look at the industry trends going forward. What is the place for artificial intelligence? Where does that fit into our game? And unfortunately, it's got a bad connotation at the moment because there's so many fake things happening in the world. And you think you're booking a hotel, you think you're booking a flight in a room at Fancourt, but actually it's some dodgy website that's fished your entire profile and they take someone's money. But what will artificial intelligence recommend? If they go through all your search history and they read all your emails and they can set your calendar appointments for you, what are they going to recommend? Are we marketing to these artificial engines in 2 years' time to say, please consider Fancourt? Because if they look at your search history and your emails and your calendar, they might say, listen, Leroy, I think it's a great idea to go to Fiji. Where do our marketing efforts fit into that then? And how do we even get into that space? So that's what our team is busy working on. And if I tell you no one's got the real answer, I'm embarrassingly honest to say, we ourselves, it used to be, where do you think you're going to be in 10 years? And I think so that's changed to, where do you think you're going to be in 2?
Fair enough. You mentioned Fiji. Tell me, what is your favorite destination? You've obviously traveled. Where's your favorite place to visit?
I've been privileged enough to go to a little place called Ljubljana. It's the capital city of Slovenia. And I always say, if I ever go missing, you'll find me there. It's a small city the size of George, 200,000 people living there. It's a first world city. It's a fairy tale.
Can you give me a fun fact that's happened to you in the last couple of decades while you've been in this business? Either you've been dealing with an irate customer at some stage, or you've been walking around the African bush. Anything that pops into your mind that's going to be a good bedtime story for the grandkids one day, perhaps?
I'll tell you about something that I was part of. So a couple of years ago, it was just before World Cup, I think, I worked at a hotel in Port Elizabeth, and Prince Harry and Prince William stayed at the hotel. There's an off-road biking event from the KZN coast all the way down to Wild Coast into the Eastern Cape coast. Their motto at the time was, to hell and back is quite far, but in Africa is further. So they did a thing for Princess Diana's, one of her charities, and I then hosted Prince Harry and Prince William in the hotel. But as luck turns out, we also had a wedding ceremony in the hotel as well at the same time. So we had to move 400 odd bikers to an area that was away from the wedding ceremony. At about 11 o'clock that night, I could see things are getting out of hand with all these bikers. At that time, the fact checkers can go out and fact check it. Myself and Prince Harry was on first name basis by that time of the night. So I went to him, I said, Harry, you're going to have to help me out here. I went to the bride and I said, can the motorbike crowd please come and just get into the conference center so we can close them in and control them? And the bride said, yes, but if Harry asks me, I will let it happen, not if you. So I went to Prince Harry at the time and I said, Harry, I need a favor here. So I told her what I needed. I said, come. He walked with me to the bride, went to the bride. She went opposite Gugu Gaga completely. Asked the bride, can 300 of his closest friends please join the wedding? She said, fine. So we moved them into a far more suitable space. The bride then phoned all her wedding guests who already got home by that time saying, listen, I've got Prince Harry at my wedding. Obviously 1,000 photographs got into the newspapers the next Saturday. And I'm glad to say that was my doing with Prince Harry. And for that, I've got a photograph that was taken in the early hours of the morning, which I sent to a few friends when he got on his wedding day saying I didn't get the invite. But yeah, that, and obviously over 25 years, many things have happened. But that for me, it was quite cool how the bride told me, yes, I'll do it, but if Harry asks me. So she probably thought it's going to happen at some point. So I can't remember who it was, who the wedding couple was at the time, but that's verbatim what happened.
You and your sales team have been kind enough to give away a prize to listeners on the podcast. Tell us a little bit about what you're giving away.
So it's always fun to chat to whoever gets into Fancourt, but it's a lot nicer that you give someone an opportunity to come visit Fancourt. So we've put together an invitation for a couple, for 2 people, for 2 nights bed and breakfast on the house. The travel dates will be end of April 25 until 31 October 25. So it's out of our high season with respect to high season and occupancies. We're not that concerned about school holidays and all that. So you can let us know. If we've got space for you, we'll set you up. So that's the prize we're giving away to your listeners for this podcast. And the only thing we do ask is please get in early. When I say get in early, when you get the prize, think of a date and let us know. But the only time we disappoint people is when they really want to travel on a date and we just simply can't help them.
I'm sure the listeners will appreciate it. So there'll be more than enough time. Thank you, Leroy. I really appreciate your time and coming onto the podcast. Thanks a lot.
Great pleasure. Thank you. All the best.
Today we were chatting with Leroy Ferreira, Director of Sales and Marketing, Fancourt, George. Tune in again next week when we will be chatting to Shongwe Lookout in awesome Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe for another chance to win. Do not forget that awesome prize giveaway from Fancourt Resort. All the details can be found in the show notes of this episode. If you enjoyed the show, please rate the show on Apple Podcasts or drop me an email. My name is Rael Zeev, and consider this. A few years from now, you will not remember how much it cost you, but you will still remember the memories you made. Keep traveling.